Heyo everybody, Haku here with my live reaction to read through 4 Tower of God chapter 625 for season 3 episode 208. Since we're at 625, I'm probably gonna, catch up to my screen time notes a little bit after this one. But yeah, I'm excited to read. If you hear some noises behind me or anything, it's storming right now, so there's a little bit of thunder, it's pretty windy, and hopefully my power doesn't go out. I'm always worried about that when I try to record. So that would throw me off a little bit, so hopefully it ends up fine. But I'm interested to see what we get this week, I really am. Last week wasn't the best. I still kind of hold to what I said last week after, watching some other people's reactions, like Pyro's and Ron Cans and everything. After going through other people's reactions, reading myself and everything, my thoughts are still kind of, if you take it out of context, I think the fight and the choreography and everything of it last week was pretty solid. Like, if I had never read Tower of God before and like you just showed me that chapter, I'd be like, oh, that's pretty solid. That's not the best ever, but it's fair. And then when you put it in context of like, why are we seeing this? There's a lot more interesting things going on. Bomb already left off on a good spot with his conflict with Dumas. If Bomb wins this, whether he wins or loses, what does it really matter or change? Because they're still kind of in the same place, and it might even be better for Bomb to attempt to talk things out in some way or work out some sort of deal with them. I mean, that might not work, but it's, given what Bomb has already seen, is maybe worth a try, maybe more worth a try than just immediately trying to attack. When you take it into the idea of, if Bomb wins the fight, then he's just even further burying the overall story and power scaling and everything. Like, when you put it in context, that's when it's like, okay, it kind of sucks story-wise. Fight-wise, I don't think last chapter was bad. Story-wise, not a big fan. I think that two of the best takes I heard on it, Ron Can, in his reaction, when I was like, this was rated one of the worst chapters, or like the worst chapter by a long margin. And me personally, I think people were overreacting. Like, I don't like that this fight is happening, but I don't think it's the worst chapter. We've had some stinkers this arc, let me tell you. And his first reaction upon learning that was like, people hated this more than the Khun sweetfish stuff, which I think is a solid take. I think being shocked that this was more hated than that is a solid take. And another really great take that I heard is one of you in the comments. I'm sorry for not crediting who. I might actually take a quick jump cut to look and see who it actually was. Or it might not have actually even... Yeah, it might not have actually been in my comments, so maybe not. But I did see a comment somewhere where I think it was one of you. Sorry if I'm miscrediting you if it was one of you. When talking about last week's chapter, was like, reading the series, there were fans, and I've said something similar about One Piece a lot, but there are fans who really want a good story, good character writing, stuff like that. And then sometimes chapters disappoint them and they get pissed off. And then there is one group who just wants big punch, big Shinsu laser, power scaling, well, not even power scaling, because that's shot all to hell by this kind of stuff, but just wants fight, power fantasy, Bomb to be OP and just run through every single opponent without ever getting defeated, just to always look cool, always look strong. And sometimes that group will get pissed off if we're like spending time focusing on character stuff or away from Bomb, or if Bomb doesn't do as well in a fight, because they always just want Bomb to look like this untouchable OP protagonist. And last chapter got a terrible score because it is the perfect storm. It is, in a situation where the people who just want Bomb to win every fight are going to be pissed off because he got pretty beaten up. And the people who want like good writing, good character work, well, with what's happening here, they're not going to like that chapter either. So it's like, you're going to kind of piss off both groups. And I thought that was a really, really good way to put it. Where last chapter, some chapters might piss off one side or the other of that coin, but the last chapter kind of would piss off both of those groups. But either way, I think with all of that aside, I'm going to read this week, and last week was like Battle in the Heart Part 1 or something like that. So that makes me think, oh my god, Part 1? So Part 1 means we're going to have at least another part, I think. We have a violence warning at the beginning. And then let me double check, make sure you can see the chapter. Okay, just checking. We've got Bomb Down from before. Okay, and we're back to the part where he gets hit over the back of the head. Okay. And knocked down. We see the blood on Damas's hands. And then this really good shot of his face. Now, we're continuing to see Bomb just down. So the stone's breaking away, and it has this like technology marble beneath it. Now we're seeing Leviathan with Bomb in there. I wonder if he is going to... Also, something else people complained about was Bomb just the whole chapter being like, I'm going to use everything I've got, then proceeding to not. I'm going to use everything I've got, and then proceeding to not. Like, he just kept saying he was going to pull out everything, and then was not pulling out everything. But I think a part of that is... there's a little bit of difficulty in it with Season 3 compared to Season 2. Because Season 2, we had this understanding. We had, like, Base Bomb's abilities fighting, and then when he used the Thorn, it's like, okay, this is when he's serious. He's using the Thorn's power, but there's kind of a drawback, because sometimes it would talk to him, and sometimes he would pass out, and we're like, oh no, what's happening here? And then eventually, as he grew more, he got the Red Thrissa, but at the time, the Red Thrissa just let him, use Shinsu from a distance at the time. And then we get to Hidden Floor. And Hidden Floor, we get another escalation of that, where he learns Shinsu quality, the orb, the black and colorless Shinsu that is his power. And in his fight with Dad as a Heart, he's using his power, and then taps into Burnt Chestnut form. And it's like, okay, his power, Burnt Chestnut form, that's like without the risks of going into Thorn Rage or whatever like he had in the past. That is his, next step up. But then it gets confusing when we get into Last Station, and then he gets given the Black March, and the Burnt Chestnut isn't quite the same as it was on Hidden Floor. So that was a little bit weird, but we still had a general idea of Bomb's progression of power. But then Season 3 kind of throws that away really quickly in the cage. So we start off, he's gotten back to his basics. He's really good at using the basic stuff, but we know he's not using the Thorn right now. He's holding himself back. When he uses the Thorn, that's going to be when he's going all out, or maybe when he brings out his power again, he's going all out. And he has other things to assist him, but they're not really like a progression, more just extra things in his toolkit, like storing up an endless amount of Shinsu via the Shinsu loops, things like that. But then we get him getting transformation, and then being able to use transformation of the Red Thrissa, then at the beginning of the nest being able to use transformation with the Blue Thrissa, and that's when things really get shot in the foot and start getting confusing, because there are times where he is getting his ass kicked. Bomb is in some danger, and he'll pull out transformation. So it's like, okay, is that his big thing? Or sometimes he'll pull out the Thorn. Okay, is that his big thing? Sometimes, rarely, he pulls out his power, the black and colorless Shinsu. Very rarely, though. So, and he pretty much never brings out Black March, but you could argue that that's because he doesn't want people to know he has it. But the point being, like, we don't know what is the progression, because if there's one thing stronger than the other, Bomb would be pulling that out. Like, say if the progression was that Burnt Chestnut is still the end-all be-all, then when he's in trouble, when he's getting his ass kicked, he would be trying to pull that out, not trying to pull out transformation. So it's like, what is the... Like, we get into Season 3, and Bomb's hierarchy of powers that we could easily visually see in Season 2 isn't there anymore. Because when Bomb's fighting in Season 2, we can easily tell visually he's going in for an attack. We can see if he's using the Thorn or if he's using his power. We can see, okay, that's how far in Bomb is going. But now we have him attacking Dumas, and he tries, both the first time they fight and this time, he tries to bring out transformation, but it gets cancelled. When he was fighting in the Heart with Khun and Rak, he tried to bring out Leviathan the one time. but there isn't this clear visual indicator for us as readers as to how hard Bomb is going. Like, what is that progression of power? Whereas, like, writing wise for CU, he had it set up so that there was an easy progression that we could always tell just looking at the fight how hard Bomb was going. Now we don't know what's a higher priority, what's stronger between Leviathan, the Thrissa transformation, his power, the Thorn. We don't know what the hierarchy is anymore, so we can't just tell at a glance how much Bomb is using when he's going into a fight. And I think breaking down that hierarchy and not having that anymore makes the fight with Dumas questionable, and some of his other past fights too, because if he's getting beat up this hard, it always leaves you to think, okay, is he bringing out everything, or what's he not bringing out? And if he's not bringing something out, why isn't he bringing it out? It's just questionable compared to the way he was in season 2. Leviathan? I didn't realize you were so big. What do you mean, kid? Everything you see here is you. And we see he made the little, like, line before, and all of this, like, scratchiness, all of this, like, black energy is Bomb's inner world now at this point, I guess. What? All of this is me. And then we have Battle in the Heart Chamber Part 2. That's right. Surprisingly, this place appears to be inside you. Aside from Traumeray's Shinsu Black Hole Sphere, her Shinwan-ryu, I've never seen such an enormous place either. Shinwan-ryu. Yeah, you know, that ability of his. Perhaps Traumeray himself is the ability. That would make sense. The 3 sea dragons... We're bringing in the sea dragon thing again. The 3 sea dragons that he commands were all born from eggs created by him. So I wonder if that's related to the experiments he was doing back in the flashback. I'm not sure why, but he shared a great deal with us. Okay, so 3 including Leviathan. His feelings, his desires, his power, and his memories. Okay, never mind, that's 4 things. There might not be anything left inside him. Unless those 4 things are in all 3 of the dragons, in a sense. We're part of Traumeray. What matters most is that I'm inside you. Again, I think this is unnecessary. It's just too much, honestly. The whole, yeah, he put his memories in Leviathan, but Leviathan was its own separate creature, is like, you know, it's complicated, but it's fine. It makes sense in the context of things. They all have ways of hiding their memories. This is a way that makes real sense for Traumeray. But it's like, okay, so we split 3 pieces off from himself, raised them as dragons from eggs, like, and then one's inside Bomb so that Bomb can have a piece of Traumeray in him. It just seems like a bit much to me. Especially when Bomb already has so much going on that we don't really need this. I don't think it adds to the story. I said it when Leviathan first talked about the dragon stuff. Bomb already has the Thrissas. Bomb already has the Thorn. I'd love for us to develop that further and to spend our time away from developing that, giving the side characters more time to shine, instead of right now we're doing some sea dragon stuff and I really don't care that much about it. I don't think it adds anything to Bomb's character. I don't think it helps his character out. It's just an extra thing that we're spending time on, where we're not developing Bomb's other abilities or the other things he has inside him in the story, and we're not spending time on all of the side content, or I don't even know whether to call it side content at this point. Like, we're taking time away from other characters and other things we could be seeing for this. What matters most is that I'm inside you, and you're somehow capable of containing a being like me. I wasn't going to help you unless you were fighting Traumeray, but I guess I don't have a choice now. I do think having Traumeray split off parts of himself, and also having Gastang split off parts of himself as the riding children, is interesting because, like I mentioned before, Jan Hana, who is now Jan Iarde, or no, who is now Yan Yurong, was known for splitting off, or like was known for having the rest of her family through Iarde despite being a virgin herself. So I do think that maybe, much like the dragons were split off from Traumerei and the riding children were split off from Gastang, Ilarde could be split off from Yirang. And that would still let Yirang be like the virgin Yanhana family head. And then, I wasn't going to help you unless you were fighting Traumerei, but I guess I don't have a choice now. What do you mean wasn't going to help you? I feel like he's been summoned a bunch. Get up. I'll grant you Traumerei's power. Again, and then, like, so, this is kind of like this. I'm going to leave it on the screen for a second to say, this is kind of like the Souls thing with Joaquin, except not well written. A lot of people complained about the Souls power-up, and at the time it seemed like the Souls power-up was going to be temporary, which is one of the reasons why I thought it worked, and it not being temporary turned out to not be really great writing. But at the time, it's like Joaquin was set up as this villain, and it played really well into the emotional story with Rowan and with Daniel, and Baum using the souls that White or Joaquin had amassed against him to humble him, and it was like a really big, good story moment. But this time it's like we're not even fighting Traumerei himself, but Baum is going to use a part of Traumerei to get a power up by having some of a family head's power. And again, if it was temporary, it'd be neat, but from what we've seen, it might not be temporary, and it would have been nice to see Baum climb the tower and build up his skills, build up his abilities as he's climbing up the tower, rather than just, okay, now you get this for free, and now you get this for free, and now how about you get this for free? It's just really, really, really a lame way to do Baum's character. It would have been so nice to see him build up his strength and not just constantly be gifted things. So then he's twitching down in I was going to say the real world, but it's still inside Dumas's heart. He clenches his fist. You survived once more, I see. I'm glad you're so determined to live. This means I didn't disobey the family head's orders after all. He stands. Starts floating into the air even. And both of his horns start to coil around each other. What's going on? We're seeing more of Leviathan behind him. And is this going to be like a Leviathan transformation? Because we see the two things coming from the sides looking like Leviathan's mandibles. What's that? Have you unlocked some sort of new form? You're smaller than I thought. And again, it's just less clear. We had Thorn Bomb, we had his power bomb, like Burnt Chestnut Bomb, when he ignites the thorn with his power. And it's like, okay, we're not using the thorn here, we're not using Bomb's power here. I'm assuming this is just base Shinsu plus, I guess transformation? Like we're using transformation with Leviathan and the Thrissas? But even then, the Thrissas aren't there physically, so I guess maybe we're just using power from them, but not actual transformation. Again, it's just a visual clutter. Alright, I'm not sure if it's because I'm up in the air now, but he looks much smaller than he did earlier. Small. Or maybe it would be more accurate to say that I see him for what he really is now. You're learning to overcome your fear. I'm beginning to see him more clearly. And the more I see... He looks pissed. That's one of the qualities of a true warrior. What? What do you... You're overcoming your... I feel like Baum didn't overcome his fear. Baum didn't do anything emotionally or character-wise. He just got revived. Like, Baum didn't change any here. Leviathan just said, hey, I'm going to give you some of Traumerei's powers. What? The more I realize just how powerful Dumas really is. He's extremely powerful. I'm I'm just starting to see Dumas's tremendous strength. Already, like at least last chapter was just, decent choreographed fight and stuff. This chapter's ass so far. I'm sorry for being negative. I was sorry for being negative last week. But I don't even know if I'm as sorry this week. I don't like this. I just don't think this is a good chapter. Even with Leviathan's power, I wouldn't stand a chance in a head-on fight with him. And now the situation has taken an unexpected turn. So Dumas needed to assess Bomb's new source of power. And he's got Rosario here. Let me just keep, just making sure I've got everything. For now, let me try something, he thinks. And he sends out the spears. Alright, Bomb just standing there, using his normal, orb stance usually. He brings together the mandibles from Leviathan. I saw a lot of people complaining about things being zoomed in or zoomed out in weird ways last chapter. I don't think it was that big of a problem. And even here, I don't think it's that big of a problem. But we are having, something that I said in the nest a lot before we got into, the really good fights in the nest, back when some of the fights were kind of Tower of Beams-ish. There was a lot of just unnecessary, cluttered, close panels. And I feel like we're having a lot of them here again. And we've had a lot earlier in this arc too. I feel like this arc has kind of regressed from what we had been having post-hiatus. He brings everything together in the front. Is that a bow? So he's using Leviathan's power as a bow this time. Okay, fires toward Dumas. I'm assuming the spear's around him. Let me go back up. Just double make sure. So is he firing out there to deflect the spears away? Because they were coming... Hold on. Oh my god, all the way up here. It looked like they were coming around him. But I guess maybe they were just coming from the front and it's a weird panel. And it just took them a while to get there. He forms the bow and then shoots them away, I'm assuming. And then fires toward Dumas himself. Large Tower of Beams panel. Okay. He starts firing down more. This attack isn't nearly strong enough to defeat Dumas. And Bomb was well aware of that. Weird that we're using this for a neutral narrator. Like an omniscient point of view narrator. There's no way that an attack like this could possibly deal a critical blow to him. But that's not what Bomb was trying to achieve with this volley of arrows. I'm not sure I like it. I feel like we don't need it. And it's very rarely used, and in the rare times it has been used, it's been really good. So I feel like this moment really doesn't live up to those rare times where it's used. What Bomb wanted to create was the right timing. Wary of Bomb's new power, Dumas sought to test it. Again, this stuff I feel could have been told through the visuals instead of having a narrator have to actually spell it out for us. Although the power posed no serious threat to him, Dumas realized that it could be a nuisance. And in that brief moment, Bomb closed the distance between them and seized his chance to attack. He goes in closer with Leviathan's power swirling around him. So it's swirling around his arm as he readies another arrow. Again, a lot of these panels I feel are too cluttered. I don't know, they just don't look very good. It was then that Dumas realized something instinctively. He had made, and he fires through, a mistake. But it was too late. Okay. He tanks it once again. He's bleeding, though. The wound is shallower than I thought. I need to follow up with another attack. The attack was more powerful than I expected. So now this is Dumas's point of view. I don't know if this is a translation issue, because that happened earlier in the chapter where I was like, okay, I was like, at one point it was Dumas and then it was a narrator, but then like once we really got into it I was like, okay, I think it's just a narrator, but now it's jumping back to Dumas's point of view. The attack was more powerful than I expected. I know I can dodge or block the same attack if he tries it again, but what does that matter? There are countless examples in history of warriors whose downfall began with the smallest cut resulting from a moment of distraction. This is unbearable. I am the family head's own riding. How could I, of all people, make such a foolish mistake? Then we see Leviathan again. He brings his hands out in front. It looks like he grabs onto the attack. And tries to tank it this way. He's trying to block it with his bare hands. You see blood forming from them and falling down. His shirt torn. I'm so ashamed. It's my own fault. For relying on my thick armor for too long, I've become weak as a result, and this is my punishment. I should be grateful to him. I let myself get too soft and weak, but thanks to that boy's punishment, I've come to my senses. See, Dumas isn't a terrible character. I just feel like we shouldn't be seeing any of this whatsoever at all, though. And we have more shots fired. He weaves through them. You seem to have forgotten that I'm a spear bearer as well. He brings out Rosario. And I guess that's his attacks coming in. Okay, panel keeps going. RIP to those of you reading on mobile. And then he takes one of the spears in his own hand and goes in close range. Hold on. Do you see the little wish here in black text? I love that. The little wish. Alright. Still going in for that stab. Lots of visual clutter in these panels, man. Okay, hold on. I guess he parried Bomb's arm to the side? No, Bomb. Okay, so no, Bomb instead is down now, but then he jumps up and starts firing down again. Dumas leaps up behind him. After becoming aware of Leviathan's transformed power, so it is transformation, this is the second moment Bomb was waiting for. And we just have blood around his arm and Leviathan stuff, another chance to attack. It glances off the back of his fist, it seems. Blood splatters up. Bomb turns around. Leviathan transformation. Leviathan's 4 claws. Then silence as it ends. Well, I'm not gonna lie. Last week, choreography was alright. Story sucked. This time they both sucked. It wasn't good. I don't know. Gonna get dislikes on the video. This chapter sucked. It wasn't good. I don't like it. I don't think this should be happening. I think the story sucks. I think the art was cluttered and not good looking for the most part. The transformation seems, who cares, unnecessary. Why are we just getting Leviathan power up? And he was already kind of using Leviathan's power, but here Leviathan's like, I'm gonna give you some of Traumare's powers. The idea that that Leviathan is a part split off from Traumare himself, same with the other dragons, is like it could be good, but I feel like at this point in the story, again, we have so many different things going on with Traumare that it's super unnecessary. So yeah, again, sorry for being negative, as I always am when I am negative, but this, I think, deserved the lower rating than last week. This was maybe the worst chapter in the series so far. I don't know. What did I say was the worst chapter in the series so far before? Was it the Khun power-up thing? I don't know. This is on par with that, though. This is maybe worse. Yeah, this might be my least favorite so far. And again, I've been reading since like 2010, 2011, at least 2011, maybe earlier than that. And I've been on the, weekly stuff well, I've been weekly since that long, but I've been doing videos weekly, so actually talking about it weekly, since Dollar Show, before Name Hunt Station. So I've seen some ups and downs. Mostly Tower of God's great. I obviously wouldn't have started the channel mostly around it if it wasn't 8 years ago. And I think there's been some ups and downs, and I think there are going to continue to be ups and downs. But overall, I think that the hotel arc was a step up. The hotel arc was so good. The stuff after that was hit and miss, but I personally liked it a lot. And then once we got to the Sprout I think has been the worst arc in the series. Pretty easily. I don't have the cage is there. I don't mind the cage though. I don't think the cage is that bad. But again, I don't think this is the worst thing ever, because it has its good points like the flashback. And that's about it. Outside of the flashback, the fights with the branch leaders kind of sucked compared to past fights we've gotten. The character work has been not good, and I just don't get it. This arc should be like the best. It's like we have two great families at war. We have Yurik and some of Walhaikzong coming. We have Mircea and some of FUG coming. Bomb's group is in the mix and could be getting some good development, good character work, some good fights. Any of that could be happening. All the ingredients are here to make an incredibly, incredibly good arc. And Siu is just fumbling something hard. I don't get it. I don't know how you fumble this hard, but yeah, this arc has just not been good. For the most part. Again, I try to be positive, and any glimmer of good stuff I can get, even though I really, really, really liked Tiara, the stuff with Tiara and Gororo and Enkidu I thought was solid. Even though I like Tiara and I'm like, no, I don't want to see her go. That was shocking. Those chapters were pretty good. The flashback was really good. I'm really interested in Traumare and Enkidu and Gastang's story and where it goes from here, and the rest of the family heads. I'm very interested in that. I still, even though we haven't seen them in forever and we've only got the barest little shreds of them at this point, I'm still really invested in Lobadan's family and his goal to stop this war, because he wants to try to hold what's left of his family together, even though Traumare's done a pretty darn good job at tearing it apart. So it's there's so much that I am invested in, so much that I love and want to actually see fleshed out and good in a good way, but we just haven't been seeing that for the past few weeks. And before the flashback, hadn't been seeing it for a while. We'd seen it for a couple chapters before the flashback, but before that, when we were in the midst of the branch leader fights, again, we had I think the branch leader fights were maybe the worst stretch of the series so far, and then these last 2-3 chapters have been giving that a run for its money. So yeah, that's where I am right now. I still obviously love the series. I still think, like I said, there are highs and lows. And even though I think that this is a low, a low right now, I think that in the future, when we get into Gastang and Traumare stuff, when we get into Traumare and Enkidu stuff and what's happening with their relationship, when we get into Lobadan and Kirin, when we get into Revolution, because they're here. I forgot to mention them earlier, because we saw them show up and then did nothing with that for months now. When we get into that stuff, Yurik is showing up, FUG showing up, I think that's going to be some high point stuff. At least I'm really praying and hoping that it will be. So this, much like those fights before, is just something that I'm week to week, I've just got to power through, just got to get through this so I can get to something hopefully better. Because I feel again, with all those ingredients there, I feel better is definitely got to be coming, because we have so many exciting things there. But this isn't it. This, like, all of Bomb's stuff for the past seemingly forever, just, and it's a shame because I personally like Bomb's personality in season 3 more. I think Bomb shows more personality in season 3 than he did in season 2, and I like that. I like the way that Bomb talks to people, the way that Bomb acts more in season 3. But man, his story has just been nothing and nowhere. Yeah, compared to, like, look at all the stuff that Bomb went through getting to the end of Workshop Battle, everything that he went through with Team Tang Soo-yuk and Team FUG and getting all of his friends back together, and then everything he went through in Hell Train with his new friends, and should he sacrifice people, and everything with Joaquin, and going from there into everything with Kaiser so that he could deal with all this stuff with Rachel, going through the hidden floor and how he matches up with Zahard, getting through the news of what happened with Jinsung and trying to survive the last station, and hearing about Calavan and everything, and then go into season 3 and he's trying to rescue Jinsung, but that just turns into detours along the way that don't always make sense, and then it's kind of just been dragged out past rescuing Jinsung into being trapped in more of this, and Bomb's part of the story, Bomb's aspect, Bomb's journey in the story in season 3 just hasn't been what it was in season 2, and hasn't been good mostly, which is a shame because even though I think his story is worse, I think Bomb himself, and I like his design more kind of, even though his story has been worse, I kind of like Bomb himself more. So yeah, I don't know. Big bummer this week, but it is what it is. Sorry about that. Again, I feel bad having to apologize, but I want Tower of God to be good every week, and I want to enjoy and love it every week, and I'm not going to lie to you at the same time. So even though I want to enjoy it every week and want to love it every week, I don't this week. I think this chapter was ass. And maybe by next week, maybe after rereading it multiple times, seeing what other people say about it, maybe I'll be proven wrong, and maybe I'll change my mind on my own. But as for right now, for my first thoughts and reactions, I didn't think it was good, like at all. I think that Dumas's aspect, if I was trying to get anything positive out of it, I think that Dumas's side of things, I'm still interested in Dumas as a character, and I think this adds a little to him. But Bomb's side of this just sucked so much. Either way, I'll end it here. I'll stop rambling. Like if you did like the video, comment down there too. Tell me what you thought of this chapter, my first thoughts and reaction. Subscribe for more. Tower of God, much more on the channel. Follow on Twitter if you want. If you want a link to the Discord server, ask and I'll give you a link. If you want to help support the channel by dropping a super thanks, it's appreciated. But if you want to also get your name at the end of every video, if you want to get One Piece videos a little bit early, in addition to helping me keep making videos, then hit join down below. Go to patreon.com/Haku of the Tubes, or link will be in the description. And thank you to people who are patrons and channel members. Thank you to Chosen Regular Evan Hawley, to Magical Girls, FR Nono Abyss Knight, JA, The D-Ban, and Irony, Cheriton Students, David Langstaff and Folded Ghoul, Slayer Candidates, SG and Stan Cedar, and Pure Element, Pater Diablo. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you all so much for watching despite everything, and I'll see you all next time.